Okay, Mayor Turner, thank you for the opportunity to speak with you.
Sure.
Not quite 100 days, but I know you hit the ground running, and we'll talk about some of your initiatives in a little bit.
Okay.
But my first question to you is if you had the opportunity to put the timing of your win, or your mayorship, if you will, into perspective, meaning, this is your third attempt. You've tried, if my memory serves me correctly, it's been more than a decade now. Do you think like right now is the appropriate time, the most opportune time, or is there something that perhaps you could have done during your first bid that would have pushed Houston far along in the process?
I try not to look back, at the previous elections. I think, I felt good when I ran the first time. I didn't win, but I felt good about it, and I don't have any regrets about that. Same thing with the second time. I felt good about running. Fell short. But even after the first, I continued to do my work in the legislature. And after the second, I stayed there, continued to be a partner at the law firm. I think with respect to this final time, you always build on what you've done in the past. It was just, I think, I'm very fortunate, blessed that people in the city of Houston decided to give me the opportunity to serve. So I don't look back. I think this is that special moment, and now I can utilize everything that I've learned over my 26 years in the legislature, 32 years as a partner at the law firm, 17 years as a law professor, to be the best mayor that I can humanly possibly be, and then move the city forward.
Is there any one thing specific that you think, having spent that extra time, that would help you now at this moment?
Well, relationships are important, and you don't establish what I call meaningful, qualitative relationships overnight. It's a lifelong journey. You build relationships over an extended period of time, and I think the relationships that I've built over the past 26 plus years will help me in being the mayor of the city of Houston now. Certainly the experiences that I've been in, I've been on the finance committee on the state side of the legislature for 21 to about 26 years in the legislature. So that will be helpful here as well. And then my background in telecommunications and electric utilities, that's my area of expertise from the legislature, so that will be helpful. And then been a partner at the law firm for 32 years on the business side. And then just being a lawyer, period. I think those experiences will help. So this is just a good moment. I think where the city is now and where I am now happen to intersect at a perfect moment. And I utilize everything that I've gained to move the city forward financially, make sure that we'll financially manage well, and to attend with infrastructure, and then to address things like public safety, income inequality, education, things of that nature.
And so now that we're sitting here, what is your biggest challenge, you think?
Oh man, what's the biggest challenge? I think where we are in this city right now, we certainly will face financial challenges. That getting past those hurdles, I think, will be major, and we will. But when you got oil prices down, property taxes are down, sales taxes are down, and then on top of that, we have a self-imposed revenue cap that pretty much says you can't utilize all the dollars that are coming in. That was something that was put in place in 2004. So there are many financial challenges, but once we get past these financial challenges, then the sky will be the limit. So that would probably be the number one daunting challenge. But again, you just fall back. I'll fall back on my previous experiences in dealing with budgetary crises, and we'll get past this one.
Yeah, one of my questions I was going to ask, and I actually phrased it in this way intentionally, just to, and that is, are you afraid of the oil prices?
No, look, this is a wildcat town. Houston has always been an oil and gas town. Prices were low. The cost of a barrel of oil extremely low in the 1980s. There were thousands of people, Houstonians, that were laid off. But we got past that and we experienced a period of growth and prosperity. Now the oil prices are low now. At some point, you know, they will start to go back up. They're being very stubborn right now. But thank goodness we are much more of a diversified city than we were in the 1980s. So whereas in the 80s we were 90+% dependent on oil and gas, now in 2016 we're about 40% dependent. But we have a thriving aeronautical, spaceport area, transportation, medical. All of those areas are developing, manufacturing. So I think we've done well to diversify, and we'll continue to take steps to diversify our economy.
Yeah, not quite 100 days in office yet, but you started
Yeah.
with some initiatives. One, which, you know, depending on who you ask, it's great. I personally want to thank you for fixing the potholes in the city. It's less wear and tear on my vehicle, but you know. And then there are some people who say, well, why start there? Could you tell us? You know, it's one that got a lot of notice in the news recently. Why potholes? Is that just something?
Well, but I think you answered the question even in asking it. You know, potholes with the pothole initiative would not have attracted gotten nearly as much attention that it has, were not something that Houstonians are deeply concerned about. You know, for 22 months I was on the campaign trail, I heard more about the bad state of the streets and potholes in the city than any other issue. Now the approach that I took to address it was ominous, you know, where I said that they will be, you know, you call in with your pothole, we'll assess it and address it, which means we'll fix it by the next business day. A lot of people said to me, after I made that statement, that Sylvester, why set yourself up? It cannot be done. It hadn't been done, you know, it just can't be done. But I will tell you that the City of Houston employees, especially the guys and gals in public works, have responded in a major way, and we are assessing and repairing those potholes 96% of the time on average. And the reason why I address that issue is because if you're traveling over Houston's roads and they're bad and you get a tire blown out and you're having to go and get your tire repaired, it's going to cost you some money that you had not budgeted. So for the average Houstonian, being able to repair those streets and preventing their tires from being blown is a major factor. So, but it's just a temporary solution. In the end, we have to repave or totally redo the streets, but people are not going to give you time to do the bigger projects if you haven't experienced your ability to handle these smaller ones.
Yeah.
So, but I am very pleased. 96% of the time, potholes that are called in, called, are being assessed and addressed by the next business day.
Yeah, and I refer to some of these other things that are on your plate as challenges, and pardon me if you don't refer to them as such. You know, you have the airport contracts, firefighters contract. There's going to be a pension issue. Can you address those and how and what are your plans to fix those if you?
Those are all big items. There are several contracts as it relates to airports. That was one dealing primarily with construction at the airports. Those contracts were put together under the previous administration. There were some questions raised whether or not all the procurement rules were followed, whether or not there were any conflicts that existed. At the end, the comptroller indicated to me that he was not going to certify that the funds were there for that big contract, and I made the decision that since the previous comptroller said he wasn't going to certify, the new comptroller said he wasn't going to certify, I made the decision and I chose to simply restart the process. What is important to me is meeting the needs of our infrastructure and the financial challenges. And I saw no sense in trying to force something. So we will restart that process, we will expedite it, but eventually we will have another contract out on the airports. With respect to the financial, the unfunded pension obligations, I'm talking to all of the stakeholders and essentially saying to all of them, we need to reduce the cost that the Houstonians are having to pay for the unfunded pension obligations, and we will. But at the same time, we need to have comprehensive finance reform, and that is the revenue cap that's in place right now needs to be modified, or we need to get rid of it. TERS, the tax increment reinvestment zones, need to be contributing more to the general fund instead of being the recipients of dollars from the general fund. And then on the unfunded pension obligations, I am very confident that all of the stakeholders will reach an agreement before January of 2017.
You put together several committees, and it's a novelty. I don't know of any mayor that has done this, and perhaps there are, and it's just based on my ignorance. But these volunteer citizens who we're going to make up these committees and go and report back to you. Talk a little about that. Why do you think that's essential?
Well, that's important. These are transition committee members. We're covering anything from, there are about 13 different teams covering traffic, transportation mobility, public works, housing, economic development, public health, and essentially it's getting input from the people that who are living in the city of Houston or are living in the region. Their thoughts, they're talking to the various department heads, they're drilling down. Quite frankly, they're helping to make my job easier. And many of them will report to me by March 1st. I'll take a look at their work, their recommendations, and then I'll decide which of those recommendations that I will implement. But they are reviewing all of these different subject matters to make to me policy recommendations. I think it's a good way to be inclusive and to bring people with a lot of talent, highly resourceful to the table, so that we can come up with something that works best for the people of the city of Houston.
Yeah, and one other question for you. I have many, but I'm out of time.
Yeah.
Putting them in order, one being the most important, what are the three most important issues or concerns that you're going to deal with that are most important to you and you think that are most important to Houstonians?
Infrastructure, of course, is one. Financial management is the second. Public safety is the third. Income inequality, what I mean by that is providing people with the skill sets to take advantage of the better jobs, to encourage those jobs that are here to expand, to bring in other jobs from outside of the city within the 640 square miles. And then with income inequality, making sure that we prepare. Education is important. You can't have a thriving city going in one direction and your school system going in another. So we need to work in tandem to make sure that the city is working as a meaningful partner with our independent school districts. Those are the 5 things that are important to me.
Anything I didn't ask that you'd like to mention?
Oh man, if only time would permit, I'd say a whole lot of stuff.
Yeah, and I would ask a whole lot.
But let me just say 51 Super Bowl will be here in February 2017, inviting everyone to be a part of it. We need about 10,000 plus volunteers.
Yeah, that was on my list, and in regards to that, like transportation,
that's a whole different subject matter.
It's a whole different subject matter. Okay, well maybe you'll give me an opportunity to come and visit with you at a later time on that.
Well, that's what we do. That's Southern hospitality. Come back again and see.
Next time, maybe we'll have some tea. No, I was just kidding. Thank you. I appreciate you.
You're more than welcome.
Thanks.
Right.
Do you mind if I take a quick picture? Thank you.